You could now think about the thing you want money for. Can you clearly understand the expectations of the person you're talking to or the person you're writing this grant to? The granting organization already in their mind has an idea of how success can be apprehended and how success can occur. But the question is, do you know how to do that? Do you know how to speak their language? Can you speak success in the language of the organization you're writing to? We mess up a lot of the times because we give our latest and greatest and our best dialogue and our best understanding of how we fix a problem. But as we are writing that particular grant and writing that program and writing those outcomes, it's not conveyed that way to them that read it. And that's why when they're reading your grant, they said there's no clear outcomes. And in your mind, yes, it is. This is exactly where I'm trying to go. This is exactly where, because it makes sense to you. Most organizations, ministries, businesses fail at their marketing approach because it only makes sense to them. Yes. So you have to adjust what you're saying to make sure it matches exactly what they desire and they understand. Mind you, you don't have to save the world preference when you write the grant. All you have to do is present the grant in a way that they will accept it. They'll give you the money. Then during your reporting, you can prove the adjustments were necessary in order to get this outcome. Remember, get the money first, then take ownership of how you want it to look. Get the money first. Okay, be authentic, be honest, but be flexible enough to meet the standards of the organization and what they're presenting. When I write a grant, the first thing I do before I ever let my pen hit the paper is understand the organization, understanding their background, understand who they've already accepted, and what areas, watch this now, are they sensitive to. The Kellogg's Foundation in Grand Rapids gives a lot of money, but they have specifically in their website and in their material the people they're interested in helping. So sometimes they have no problem with your program, and it's not that your program was unclear, you didn't care about the demographic that they care about. You have to make sure you highlight their demographic, because if you do it well and you write it well enough, you can expand your program in such a way that you can reach out to the people that you care about, as well as satisfying the people that the organization cares about. Understand, there are tricks of the trade when it talks about, or when it comes to writing like a grant writer. All right. The other thing you have to do is you have to understand that excellence is the only way you're going to be successful. This is the number one reason why people refuse to try to write grants, because they know that by nature they're lazy people. They know that by nature they are not willing to put in work. They know that by nature they'll leave something and easily lose it. They won't backtrack or try to figure out, what happened to thus and so. But if you know that you are a detail-oriented person, you are a great person to write a grant. That's a reality. If you understand that process, I promise you, God will give you the strength, and not only will He give you the strength, but He will also support you and ensure that your natural ability in writing a grant will be manifested. All right? So what I'm doing right now is actually tomorrow, I'll be finishing up a grant. It's been taking me a while to write it, because when you're writing a grant, this is not a one-night stand. This is an God. It's a week-long process. It's a month-long process, because you're constantly going and revisiting. And your life, watch this, as a grant writer, your life cannot get in the way of the thing that you are writing or you are trying to go after. You have to make sure that watch this, you're writing a grant to help people get off drugs for low-income people in an urban community, but you just found out that there's a lot of people in suburbia that's struggling with the same issue. You do not tweak or change your program. You don't do that. I swore off writing grants in Miami because I knew that that would change the way my life would run and the way I would exist. Because in order to write a grant successfully, you have to shut down from the world and focus specifically on that task and see nothing else. That's why I'm shifting, even within our ministry. We're shifting the way we see things. We're shifting our focuses so that we can figure out exactly Who is the target market we've been called to? This is something important that I talked about earlier. If you look at the video that's on my page, we talked about not being committed or married to the old models. The old models of community development and assisting people are no longer valid in a church. No longer is a church just an organization that eats chicken, sings songs, and preaches. That is a model. That is not gospel. Let me say it again. That is a model. That is not gospel. You do not have to preach, eat chicken, and sing songs to be a church. That is not necessary. You hear me? Every model or every organization will go through failures consistently until they find their identity. We will not have an income problem when we are in our proper target market and we're in our lane. I am learning that, and so I realize that grants are just probably one of the mechanisms that God will use for me to fund organizations and fund myself. And so that's why I'm working on this, but it's a state level grant. And there are 3 levels that I'll talk about tonight. There are foundation level, which are local level. All they want is a presentation. All they want you to do is sell them, basically. Tell me why I should give you money. Like the Community Foundation in St. Clair. All they care about is presenting this idea, and you just make sense of it and have a budget and have a track record. Boom, you got a grant more than likely. Second level is state level. They have funds that are allocated for a specific work to certain demographics in certain areas, okay? That is a state level. Like there's a thing called VOCA, the Victims of Crime Act. It's available in all different states and all different places. And the reality of this particular grant is that it causes us to look at looking at certain areas and seeing if what they're giving money to matches with your existing mission. Okay? State money always comes for nonprofits and organizations to be active, but it's all about seeing if what they're funding matches with your organization. There are times where you will be denied a grant because you shifted from your history of operations. If you were not doing the work already, chances are you cannot get the money from the state, or you would have to shift what you're doing. Last one is federal. The federal grants, they come specifically from like grants.gov or the government or things of that nature. And so they have a lot of collaboration usually, and then they usually want, God knows, 50, 60, 70 pages of information because they want to know down to the penny and down to the last staff member in every form of operation that you're going to be engaged in. Okay? And so I'm saying it to simply say to you, when you're thinking like a grant writer, you don't think like a normal person. The level of detail is crazy. And so that's why as I'm writing this grant for the next few weeks, I'm also going to be holding other classes and courses during our services, different times at our church, so that you can learn that process and we can even write some grants together. So if you're interested in that, let me know and we can figure it out. But apply these principles to your life, because if you think like a grant writer, I promise you, you won't miss as much that's right in front of your face. Be blessed.